Coming up, I'll be taking you to the Joseph Vaughn Day celebration where we were given a special challenge.
Controversy around M&Ms has broken the internet, and I went around campus and asked students what they thought.
The horrendous death of Tyre Nichols has the nation asking for accountability. What Furman students are saying coming right up.
Later in sports, we show you the crazy matchups that happened throughout the week and a couple firsts you would like to know before watching the Super Bowl.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Nightly News. I'm your host, Lindsay. Let's get right into our top story. At this point, we've all heard about the tragic death of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols. Nichols was pulled over on the night of January 7th on his way home. Video shows he was beaten by 5 police officers and then died in the hospital 3 days later. Elijah Poritzky went across campus to get your opinion about this tragedy.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yes, like you said, Tyre was on his way home when he was pulled over by police for reckless driving. However, sources say that there was no probable cause for the stop in the first place. So can you tell me your initial reaction about the Tyre Nichols incident?
I've heard the story. I didn't want to see the video just because, just for like my mental health. I don't like seeing stuff that's sensitive. But I mean, we see stuff like this over and over again. It's really just heartbreaking.
I mean, honestly, with the way America has been going thus far, I wasn't surprised to see that this has happened yet again. But I was surprised at how fast the police officers were charged and indicted off this case.
So I don't know if you heard, but the 5 cops that were involved in killing Tyre Nichols were black. How do you feel this is different than if these cops were white?
Well, it shouldn't necessarily change their perspective about doing a thoroughgoing investigation and holding these authorities to account.
I don't really think that changes anything, that they were black officers, because they still committed this act of violence and we're still standing in solidarity with the police who have been harming us all this time. We've
seen in the past how it's a struggle to get white police officers off of the payroll. So, if that's because they were black, I can't say for sure, but, it is something that you should take notice of.
Lastly, what do you think needs to be done in the future to prevent this type of problem from occurring?
Well, there needs to be more strict reprimand as it pertains to police brutality, for sure. Not just proactive measures, but also reactive measures. For far too often, there's been issues with officers just getting a slap on the wrist, and that's unacceptable, especially in matters of death and overreaction.
When I watched the video, I also saw that the officer was covering his body cam, which is one of the things they implemented to prevent stuff like this. So if they're finding ways around stuff to prevent this, then I really don't know what else we could do about it.
An absolutely tragic and heartbreaking event. So far, 7 officers as well as 3 first responders have been charged with second-degree murder. The Memphis Police Department is conducting a criminal investigation to investigate the death of Nichols. I'm Elijah Poritzky, reporting for the Nightly News.
Thanks, Elijah. All indications point to the idea there may be more charges to come. We will keep you updated on those as soon as we know more. In more unfortunate news, Greenville is no stranger to national gentrification. Colin Glascott has more information.
Did you know that over the past 30 years, Greenville's historic black neighborhoods have seen a 53% decline in the number of black residents, while the white population in those same neighborhoods has nearly doubled? This unfortunate finding is a direct result of Furman University's sociology professor, Dr. Ken Cobb. We sat down with Dr. Cobb to discuss his findings.
When do you think you first realized how serious ongoing gentrification is in Greenville?
I have been studying a couple of neighborhoods in Greenville for about 10 years. And the neighborhoods that I've been studying, it turns out, had 3 times the population a half century ago than they do today. So I started to ask myself, where did all the people go? And so I started looking at those changes. Now, racially restrictive covenants occurred in the 30s, 40s. Racially restrictive covenants are essentially contracts built into housing deeds. One person is selling to another contingent upon their agreement to never sell their house to anyone who isn't white. And so we can identify where these racially restrictive covenants were put in place, and those were essentially all white neighborhoods. So areas that did not have these racially restrictive covenants became the areas that we now know as the historically black neighborhoods, because they were the only neighborhoods where black residents were allowed to live. And that's what makes the racial displacement that we're seeing today so disheartening, is that black residents are being priced out of neighborhoods that 50 years ago were the only places in the city where they were even allowed to live.
To raise awareness around this ongoing housing crisis, visit communitygvl.org.
Thanks, Colin. Be sure to check out that website. This past week, more than 200 people joined us on campus for our Joseph Vaughn Day celebration. He was the first black student to attend Furman. Ella Grogan was at this year's celebration.
Isn't it strange that kings and queens and clowns to caper and sawdust rings, and common people like you and me are builders for eternity. Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mass, a book of rules. Each must make ere life is shown, a stumbling block or a stepping stone.
With those eloquent words, Merle Code, who is a Furman Emeritus trustee and community civic leader, was given an honorary degree.
Misunderstandings happen when there is no communication. That is why that Diversity Leadership Institute is so important to me, because it began the conversations. It began the communications and changed the life in South Carolina.
Though Code lived his life building bridges, President of the Diversity Council, Edith Oliverio Bautista, challenged us to live our lives like Joseph Vaughn and Code.
What we say, what we do, and how we do it could be the drop that floods the cup that should not be full in the first place.
Edith also shared her personal story as a first-generation minority student. She says honoring Joseph Vaughn helps us to remember the bridges we have crossed as a community at Furman University. Powerful words in that event were shared that I hope we can all take with us. But for now, on Joseph Vaughn Plaza, I'm Ella Grogan.
Thanks, Ella. You may remember we started celebrating Joseph Vaughn Day in 2019, and the statue you now see at the plaza was erected last year.
Renovation projects like these take time, but Ravenel Curry's generous donation brings us closer to the goal so that we can see a brand new arena for the Paladins.
We're past the 50% mark in terms of funding this project, which means we have roughly $25 million with Ravenel's commitment. And this is really the catalyst to close the remainder of those gifts to get from $25 million to $40 million.
That price tag is comparable to other schools in our conference. For that, you can expect a complete makeover of the student and fan experience.
So it has a full concourse that goes 360 degrees. You'll be able to walk all the way around. We're going to change the direction of where the court is. It's going to go more towards the middle. We're going to change the seating that takes place there, all the concessions, all the amenities, the restrooms. The lobby that you walk through will be changed. The front of the facade of the building will be changed.
Many are wondering where the teams will play if renovations bleed into the basketball season.
But at this point, what we're targeting is that next year's season will be the final season that we would play in Timmons Arena. And we'd anticipate that construction would take place anywhere from January 1st through March 15th in terms of that window. So at the moment, we're anticipating playing next season as our last season in Timmons. And then the following season, we would not be in Timmons. We'd be at the Bon Scores Wellness Arena and other locations as we have a displaced year when we're renovating the arena.
The fans are excited for a new arena, but to the players, it shows that people care about this program.
It's a blessing to be able to have the support behind us, because that makes us just want to keep going harder and makes us know that our work is paying off.
It's amazing. It just shows how much people care and how much they want to pour into you, and it just makes you want to perform for them and play hard, and just such a blessing. Can't even describe it.
These are certainly exciting times for our basketball programs. From Timmons Arena, I'm Michael Davis. Lindsay, back to you.
Thanks, Michael. The project is broken into 3 phases, and we are currently in phase 2. Donnelly tells us this will take a couple of years to complete. Are you interested in design, branding, entrepreneurship, and leadership? Then scan the QR code on our screen. That signs you up for the Master of Arts in Strategic Design information session. The sessions will be held February 1st, March 1st, and April 18th from 4 to 5 p.m. Many of you have been talking about the luxury of the new North Village housing, but there is another reason you might want to live there. Recently, Furman has received 2 Green Globes from the Green Building Initiative to achieve sustainable and healthy living. Green Globes is a rating system that is used to recognize buildings' environmental features. North Village was recognized for its geothermal systems, Energy Star performance, and irrigation that is supplied by the Furman Lake. The housing portal will open on February 27th for you sophomores and juniors who might want to call North Village your home next year. When people think of the 3 R's of sustainability, reduce, reuse, and recycle, often they think of only recycling and forget about upcycling. But what is upcycling? I look into how we can be more sustainable through this overlooked practice. It is a way to create something new out of something run down and used.
Upcycling is repurposing something, but using it in the form that it already comes in, rather than like taking it to a recycling center and sort of breaking it down into its different materials.
Sustainability student Genevieve Messina says that between school and art projects, there are many different ways to upcycle, especially as students.
In one of my science classes before I came to Furman, we had to enter basically this city designing competition, but everything that we used to design our city was upcycled. So we didn't buy any materials to create it. We used either like old toys or different things that we had in our house, or other things that we normally would have thrown away or recycled.
By using old materials, Genevieve was able to give these products new life after their original purpose. This reduces our consumption of single-use products. As college students, there are endless ways to get creative with upcycling. We have all these t-shirts laying around, and instead of tossing them into a landfill, we can use them to create a new pillowcase. Here are some other ways you can upcycle some everyday items. Make a watering can out of an old milk or juice jug. Old jeans can become bags. Old towels and t-shirts can become rags. Old socks can be sewn together into small stuffed animals. Although there is much we can do to reduce how much waste we put into a landfill, Dr. Anderson, a professor of environmental science, says upcycling is a reflection of where social practices went wrong.
Upcycling is an indicator that we're producing way too much waste from materials that are only good for maybe one use. Purchasing upcycled products is not bad. The fact that they exist is bad, because that means, we're not doing things correctly, right? So we're generating way too much waste, largely because we're consuming too many one-use products or products with short lifetimes. And I think that's, ultimately from a environmental or sustainability perspective, what we really need to do is reduce.
Upcycling is an important practice that I take part in. It's easy and fun to do. For more information about upcycling, you can contact me or go to the Shy Center's website. If you are a maker, you might want to apply to be a vendor at the Eco Fair. The Environmental Council is hosting the fair on February 24th in Watkins from 3:30 to 6:30. The Eco Fair will explore ethical consumption and is looking for student and community vendors. If you produce your own goods or artwork and want a place to share and sell it with others, this is the place for you. To sign up, contact John Roper at his Furman email address. Next week, you have 3 opportunities to get CLPs. The first is called Flipping the Script, where an alumni will talk about the value of a liberal arts education in the film industry. The following day, we have Prosecuting Acts of Hate, where a U.S. attorney will discuss the rise of white supremacy and domestic terrorism. The last CLP is the Interfaith Life Panel, which will frame the importance of harmony among different religions. FUSAB's annual winter ball is coming up. We spoke with Jacqueline Giftos, the head of off-campus events, to get the inside scoop.
This Friday, we have our winter ball, which is a dance for everyone and anybody at Furman, and they can go downtown at Zen. There's going to be food, a DJ, music, and all great vibes. It's Enchanted Forest theme, and we're so excited to see y'all there, hopefully.
Here's a great Friday night date idea for you. The Furman Jazz Ensemble is having a concert on February 10th at 7:30 p.m. Students get in for free. The show opens with some of Furman's best jazz combos, and you don't want to miss it. You may have whiplash from all the changes Mars has been making when it comes to one of our favorite candies. M&M's have changed their spokespeople multiple times, and Alyssa Hildenbrandt went out to get your take on the sweet treat.
Yes, that's right, Lindsay. I went around campus asking students what they thought about the M&M controversy by changing their spokespeople to be more inclusive and diverse. About a year ago, M&M's changed their beloved characters to be more inclusive. They did this by changing the physical appearances of the M&Ms and creating backstories for these characters. The biggest change was to the green M&M. They changed her shoes from heels to sneakers to make her appear less sexy and more inclusive. Tucker Carlson from Fox News had something to say about this.
M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous. Until the moment you wouldn't want to have a drink with any one of them. That's the goal. When you're totally turned off, we've achieved equity.
So, I went around campus, showed students the Tucker Carlson video, and asked if they think candy brands should be making their candies more diverse and inclusive. Do you think that candy brands such as M&M's should be making their spokespeople or making their candies more inclusive and diverse?
Diversity is obviously important for any kind of organization or company. Especially when it comes to spokespeople, you want to feel represented.
I mean, yeah, I think it's always a positive to have more representation across like any group and any sort of like marketing campaign.
Having the M&Ms represent people from different backgrounds can let little children know, like, hey, you can be gay, you can be straight, you can be black, it doesn't matter, but you're still included. And I do appreciate how M&M is bringing more inclusivity for people of a younger age to be aware, because sometimes parents do not accept those from different backgrounds. So when they have this candy and they see these commercials, it's like, oh, just because this candy has on heels or Air Force Ones or is gay, it doesn't mean they're different. You can still, in a sense, eat them and enjoy them, and they will still be kind and lovely.
So, most people we talked to were all for the initial change. Who cares if Tucker Carlson doesn't want to have a drink with them? We'll still enjoy them. I'm Alyssa Hildenbrandt reporting for Nightly News. Now back to you, Lindsay.
Thanks, Alyssa. I'm sure we can all agree we will keep enjoying M&Ms despite any changes. Coming up next, Michael has updates on men's tennis and men's basketball, plus 4 reasons you might want to watch the Super Bowl.
Thanks, Lindsay. We had a lot of action this week on 2 different kinds of courts. Let's start with men's tennis from the weekend and their matchup against Belmont Abbey at the Nichols Tennis Conference Center on campus. Right here, Elijah Poritzky drives it over the net with this forehand, wins that point. Next, Poritzky drives it over the net with an unreturnable serve. Very frustrating for the Crusaders. He followed that up by another big forehand. Very, very impressive. At number 1 position, Jerry Barton now had himself a day with this well-deserved point. And our serving was on fire as both Barton and Poritzky served up multiple aces. Earlier that day, Furman took the doubles matches and went on to win all 6 singles matches for a final score of 7-0. Barton won his match 6-1, 6-3. Poritzky won his 6-0 and 6-3 in his second set. In a second afternoon match with Belmont Abbey, the Paladins defeated them again 5-0. That brings the overall season record for them to 3 losses and 2 wins for the team so far. Now let's recap on men's basketball. After taking first place in conference standings, the Paladins had a home test against the Stevens-less Chattanooga squad. Furman started off slow, but Foster sparked the team with this much-needed 3. And then Slauson exploded with a quick dunk. Wow. And then a statement 3 to push the score 41-37. The bench continues to improve, with Huey scoring 8 points. And of course, Mike Bothwell had a team-high 17 points and always pulling out those plays right when the Dens need them. Furman was too much for the Mocs, pulling away with a 79-58 win, holding on to first place in the conference. Now let's look at some scores from last week. Men's basketball beat UNCG 69-57. Women's basketball fell to both Samford and Mercer. Now they are looking to bounce back against Wofford. For women's tennis, the Paladins fell to Vanderbilt and Illinois. When it comes to the Super Bowl, you have 4 new reasons to watch this year. First, for the first time in Super Bowl history, 2 black quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, are going head-to-head for the NFL title. And here's another first. For the upcoming Super Bowl, Mama Kelsey is going to have a hard time because both of her sons, Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey, are going head-to-head to get the Super Bowl title. This brings the sibling rivalry to a whole new level. The Chiefs and Eagles play on February 12th. It will be interesting to see which brother gets the bragging rights, and the next family holiday will be pretty entertaining. Now let's look at what's coming next for Furman Athletics. Come out and cheer on your Paladins this Saturday as they take on the Wofford Terriers in a weekend at the Well doubleheader. The theme for both games is a whiteout, so make sure you wear your white. Tip-off for women's is 3 o'clock, and for men's tip-off, it is 6 o'clock. Looking forward to next week's games on campus, we have women's tennis versus Tennessee on Friday at 3 o'clock. Women's tennis turns around to face UNCG on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Be sure to check back in as we continue our coverage of Furman Athletics. Next week, we bring you more details on the partnership with Greenville's semi-professional soccer teams. For Nightly News Sports, I'm Michael Davis. Lindsay, back to you.
Thank you, Michael. Those games at the Well will be exciting this weekend. Make sure to come out and support. If you got to the game a little bit early Wednesday night, you might have been able to get some hot chocolate and learn about some groups on campus. In honor of Black History Month, Unity and Furman Athletics hosted Roll Call, hot chocolate event at Timmons Arena. Visitors had the chance to learn about our Black sororities, the NAACP, First Gen, and the Furman Pride Alliance, among other groups. For other Black History Month events, check out the Furman Community Calendar. That does it for us tonight. We'll leave you with more scenes from Joseph Vaughn Day. I'm Lindsay Capps. Have a great night, everyone.